Allan in 1961 at a Catholic dance called Rinker. It was a Saturday night dance and he asked me for a few dances. But it wasn't really until he called around to my house one day with a car full of mates and asked me would I like to go for a drive to Moana. And then he asked me out a few times and I fell big time for him. I was 16 and he was 19 when we met.
I know Joe's recollection is always that we met at the Rinker, but in fact I first noticed her at a party that we were both attending at Edwardstown. Yeah, when I first saw her I felt attracted to her and she looked an interesting person to get to know, and so that's what I set about doing. We were engaged in 1964 and married in 1965 on the 16th of October.
Allan made me feel safe, and we had the same common interests. We both wanted a big family. We were both really keen on that idea. He said, "Oh, I think we should have 5," and I said, "Well, that's an uneven number. I think we should have 6." So we had 7. together as a family. It was a really important thing in our life because our life was so busy. But on holidays there'd be no TV, wasn't mobiles for most of the time, but we would go for a beach holiday and spend time as a family. Or we went to Queensland one year, we went for a month around camping around Tasmania one year. So I think they were a very special part because we feel that we could have real quality time with the children.
My memory is that he was the one that was organising, you know, the road trips to Queensland and started our camping journey at Port Elliot, and like really liking organising the holidays.
We loved going on holidays, especially to Port Elliot, because it meant that we had Dad with us. Instead of him working all the time, he would be spending that time with us.
When we arrived at Port Elliot, one little girl was looking out for us because a lot of the families tend to come year after year, and she went running home to her mum saying, "Mum, Mum, the Hare family's here."
I have a lot of special memories growing up in our family. I think a couple that come to mind with Mum and Dad, one is at Port Elliot, and when Lacey and I would stay in the caravan with them, we'd look over every morning and Mum and Dad would be on the bed opposite us at opposite ends of the caravan. And that was gorgeous, and she told us later on that she loved that part as well, that as soon as she'd wake up she'd look over and see us and give us a little wave, and that was gorgeous.
When Alicia was born, we were camping at Port Elliot in the caravan, and Alan went off to pick up his mum and dad from the bus. They were coming up for a couple of days, and my waters broke while I was in the caravan. So then I was walking over to the toilet, and one lady said to me, "Oh, well, when's your baby due?" And I said, "Right now."
Dad, really good memories of him at Port Elliot as well. I think going in the water was a annual event only at Port Elliot that I saw him go in. So that was really special and fun because it really symbolised the carefree, relaxed Dad, which we didn't see very often.
We went to Port Elliot for at least 2 weeks every year, and that was such a great time that even now our children are still going there each year, and in January, as we used to do. So that proves to us that how much they appreciated it, and we used to have a great time.
The last time you probably had that marketplace with food. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
It's funny, as your children get older, they're so appreciative of what you've done because they've got families now and they see that it must have been hard work to fit in what we did.
It's sort of a bit yin and yang. Dad was more the dependable, the voice of reason, and offered a more considered approach, whereas Mum's response would be more out of passion. Dad would be more out of reason. So you got a really good balance.
So Mum is an amazing person. She would have to be the most positive person I've ever met in my life, and that's evidenced by many of my friends commenting to this day that when they'd come over to our house during the school holidays, that they've never heard her raise her voice. She's always calm, always welcoming.
General comments is that Mum was always glamorous. I can always remember her looking nice and having her hair done, and always proud to have her as my mum.
With hairdressing or learning yoga, and then she became a yoga teacher from coming home from school or uni, and there'd be 10 women doing the downward dog in our front lounge room and Mum teaching it when she was 9 months pregnant with one of the children. So that's a really strong memory, that Mum was always doing something different and trying to learn things.
She's always been a very energetic person and hard worker. She carried the family to a large extent during the years when I was working long hours, and also when I was studying part-time for several years at uni. There'd be many occasions when there'd be a family barbecue or family picnic on the Sunday, and I'd be home doing an essay and Jo would have the kids at the picnic or barbecue by herself. But she never ever complained. She knew that I was doing it to sort of help to secure the family's future.
Another memory of Dad is when he was at uni, and he'd take the whole family to the uni bistro for dinner, and we'd get little bread rolls and coloured drinks and things that were a little bit extravagant for us, but he really enjoyed taking us all out as a family and spoiling us a bit.
Dad would be screaming at the television at his football team, and so Mum would busy herself outside in the garden. And at those times I would sit on the couch near Dad and ask him why the umpire was blowing the whistle, and he'd explain holding the ball and all of the rules, and that's how I came to love AFL. And we'd go on to go to games together as adults. Always great joy of mine, and one of my passions now, but thanks to Dad teaching me all the lessons. And unfortunately I didn't quite get Mum's green thumb. I got the football instead, but perhaps there's still time for that.
Him being involved in my sport. Dad was always, I remember him coaching me, umpiring tennis, so coming down on a Saturday and taking time out to be there for that.
I remember Dad coaching my football team in year 12, and mates that I've got now from right back then still talk about that event.
Mum, I think one of the things that I remember about you and that stand out in my mind is, and that I think of regularly during parenting my own children, is that when you had so many children, it was difficult for you to be with each and every one because you were so busy and always had so many things to do. You told me that you would make sure that you've touched each one of them every day, and during the times when some of those may not have wanted to be touched, you would just touch their hair or their shoulder or their body, just so that you both knew that each other was there. And that's something that I think of all the time with my children.
Mum is an ideas person. She's full of ideas. I remember being at home in school holidays, and whenever I'd go up to her and say, "Oh Mum, I'm bored, what can we do?" and I'd be with one of my mates or have someone over, she'd always come up with heaps of ideas and suggestions as to what we can do.
And some of my earliest memories are standing around in my underwear with my hair fully done and my shoes on, waiting for Mum to finish a dress that I'm wearing to a party I'm going to or mass, and it would always be done at the last minute. So I have very vivid memories of that and fond memories.
Always making all our clothes and wearing matching clothes with the family, lining up in our new outfits for a special mass, and we all had to sit in the same row.
Well, all I would say is, Mum, your sense of fashion back when we were younger was probably good at the time, but I remember some of the things that you made for me that I wore, I probably wouldn't ever wear again. So thank you for making the effort and doing that, but yeah, that was interesting.
I remember Mum, no matter who or how many people you brought home, Mum would greet with open arms and make them feel very welcome, and again, that feedback is still bandied around in my group of friends today, some 30 years on. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I can remember, Mum used to say that on a Sunday morning, she'd go around and count how many heads were lying on the ground asleep before she made breakfast, because she never knew how many people would be. And to me, that's a really, I love that idea of, well, doesn't matter how many are here, just make sure that I'm not, I don't miss anyone when I make breakfast, sort of thing. So, and that, I think Mum was always like that, very, very welcoming and hospitable and open.
We outgrew our first home, and then we built a beautiful second home. And then when a lot of them had left, we came down the hill and built a beach home. We worked really, really hard to get what we had, but we love what we've done. I love my garden. When I wake up in the morning, I often think, now what projects have I got in the garden? And no matter how beautiful it looks, I'm always looking for that next project, how to make it even better. So it's such a big part of my life, and it's really exciting.
I share a love of gardening with Mum as an adult, and I love that because we can ring each other all the time about gardening. And sometimes I think we've had times where we've rung each other and talked about an idea, and we both had that idea at the same time, and I find that a really special bond with Mum as an adult.
I think it gives a lot of pleasure to our grandchildren. They come here and come in, and next minute they're all out in the garden playing hide and seek and climbing, and they just love it. And one of them said to me, "Nanny, you should go into the garden competition. Your garden looks like it should be in a Vogue magazine."
I think as I've got older, I really appreciate how cohesive our family is, and I think that's because of Mum and Dad. I see so many families that haven't got as strong a bond or don't have the ability to laugh at themselves, and it's due to Mum and Dad's attitude to our family and to each other that's meant that our family have such a strong positive bond with each other and with them.
Yeah, I love the chats that I get to have with Mum. She's one of my best friends as well. And I know that she used to call me her best friend when I was little and all the other kids were at school, because she only had me to hang out with. But I love how that's sort of come full circle. I gave her everything a teenage girl possibly can give in those years, but it's fortunately come full circle to have a great relationship as mother and daughter in adult life, and also as best friends.
Dad has two sides to him. He has a really strong, structured side, in my view. He absolutely oozed work ethic and business ethic that I think I have as part of my personality now. And I love that about Dad. But Dad also has a really endearing side as well. So he does have a soft side, and he can show you how much he cares through his actions. I have very strong memories when Dad would have been flat out at work, lots of responsibility on his shoulders, and if I was in a really important running race and it was in the middle of the day, perhaps at a time that was inconvenient for him for work, he'd always make the effort to come and watch me run the race. So it was clear to me that it was important to him to come along, show me support and watch my race, just to take that little bit of time away from work.
I just remember Mum's unwavering support. So I think a memory from my adult life was when I was competing in a rowing championship. I was in my mid to late 20s, and I was chosen to row for New South Wales. So Mum said, right, I'm coming over. And she caught a train from Adelaide to Melbourne, and then a bus, I think, to where the competition was. And then someone else's mum went and picked her up from the bus station because I was at a dinner. So she went to great lengths to come and support me in my competition, even in my, I was well and truly an adult by then.
Mum, one of the things I love about you is that you are just so consistent. So every time I phone you, drop in, see you unexpectedly or at your house or anywhere else, the way that you say hello and greet us with the same tone in your voice is just such a reassuring comfort, because whether we're in a bad state, a good state, happy, sad, having the same positive, cheerful reaction from you every single time we talk to you is just so comforting and reassuring no matter where we are in the world.
I guess I'm going to say something about Mum that actually equally applies to Dad, and that's that as a parent myself, they are amazing grandparents, and I know that having 4 boys, and boys usually not being as open as girls, my boys are fairly open, and I know that every single one of them just adores Mum and Dad and feels like they could go to Mum and Dad with any issue. And in fact, I think I have 1 or 2 that would go to Mum and Dad above me. I really love that, watching that relationship with my kids and Mum and Dad both.
Dad was always there whenever you needed anything. One of the memories I can remember, he would be at work until late, and he'd come home and he would never be too tired to read an essay or check through an assignment or whatever. And I often apply that to my own kids now. You're absolutely, tired as anything at 10 o'clock when they finish something, but reading through it and giving them some feedback, is I try to do that now, but I remember Dad doing it when I was a kid.
One of the things I took from Dad is that I can never leave an event or a party before I've said goodbye to everyone in the room, which means I am almost always the last person there, and I always leave 2 hours after I intended to. It's that interest that Dad takes in other people. He will always ask about their lives and take a genuine interest in what they're doing. And I think I've taken that from Dad. And that.
We both share the same faith, and that has certainly been a comfort to us in any difficult times. And our children have been obviously a big influence on us. Our lives have been built around them. So.
And I think one of our biggest achievements is the way our children love each other. They're always there for each other in a big way, and I think that's one of our gold star achievements.
Mum is just one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever encountered. Never stopped working tirelessly for her, not only her own children, but other people's children, and then later on her grandchildren. She just gives all of herself.
Mum and Dad, I think the reason why all of our siblings are so close is because you've given us the space to focus on ourselves and each other. Because Mum, you take care of yourself, Dad, you take care of yourself, and you're both happy as individuals, and you don't ask things from us children to take care of you. We see you as individuals, so content with yourselves, and it helps us to be able to be content with ourselves and in our relationships.
Mum's such a positive person, and really instilled in me a sense of complete self-confidence and just a knowledge, an innate knowledge that I could do whatever I wanted to do, whatever I set my mind to, with complete confidence, and it was just never a question. Whatever I wanted to do, whatever made me happy.
The thing that immediately comes to mind with Dad is that sense of right and wrong. He has a very strong sense of right and wrong, which he has, passed on to all of us. He would always put up his hand to volunteer. for any organisation that needed it. He was on the board at Antonio, he was on the board at Cabra, he was on the board at Cardine. Always willing to do his bit as a parent, and yeah, I think he's passed that on to all of us. Dad to me is just this overwhelming feeling of security. So no matter what was going on in life or at what stage, he gave the sense that everything would always be okay.
And Dad, you know, I do remember as a kid that sometimes, you know, you'd be quite firm with us, but it's not now until I've got kids that I understand why you would have been so strict in some things, like manners in particular. I know that you were really hot on that, and I'm often commented to me about by other people about how polite I am and how well mannered I am, and I really attribute that to you being really hot on that. So thanks for that, and I'll pass that on to my kids. So
the influence that Mum and Dad have had on my life has been Mum probably with her positive outlook and her generosity towards others. You know, she was always very complimentary of other people and looking for their strengths and the positive aspects of their lives and their personality.
One of the things I love about Mum is her ability to see the positive in just about any situation. I just think that's such an important skill in life. When things get tough, you know, to be able to look at the situation and say, okay, yeah, that's tough, there's no way around that, but this is the positive that we can take away from that. I always think, you know, to myself now, when you do something and you wish you hadn't, and you sort of think, well, there's no really bad mistake, there's always a silver lining, and whether that silver lining's just the fact that you learned a lesson from what went wrong.
I really love who our children are, and where we're so lucky is that we don't have to worry about our grandchildren, because we're so confident in our children that they're such good people that we know that they will, you know, look after our grandchildren amazingly well.
Very privileged to have been born into this family with such amazingly strong personalities, loving personalities in both Mum and Dad. I couldn't have asked for a more secure, safe space to be brought up in.
That has flowed through to our whole family. I love how we are there for each other, we care for each other and partners and children, and that really comes from everything that you do, Mum and Dad, in keeping the family together and allowing us to all be ourselves, but all really work as a unit and pull together when we need to. When someone needs support, we know that we can lean on each other. So thank you for giving us a safe and happy environment to flourish.
Mum and Dad, I love you very, very much. I could never sort of articulate or begin to quantify what you've given me and what part you've played in where I am today, and that extends family and, you know, the far-reaching effects of the foundations, the values, the experiences that have made me what I am today. And how could you ever begin to sort of think of how to repay that? But family, and if I can be, you know, half as successful as you guys have been in raising our family, I'll be very, very happy. So I love you guys, and thank you very much.
Okay, Mum and Dad, I feel my life is blessed for having you as parents. I really do. I think Our childhood was incredibly special, and as you get older you realise how special it is, the opportunities that you gave us to grow into whoever we were going to be without having a preconceived idea of who we were going to be, but allowing us to just be who we are naturally. And I also think the other thing that I find really special and realise how, as an adult, how special it is the closeness that you fostered between all of us kids. And it's something that I strive to pass on to my 4 kids. So yeah, thank you.
I love you both very much, and thank you for everything, and keep up the good work.
So Mum and Dad, I don't have to say the words of how much I love you, because you know that already, I'm sure. And I wouldn't even be able to put the words to it actually to show you how much. But to have you support me so much in my life, both as a young person and now as an adult and a dad, means an enormous amount to me. And also just the things that you've taught me, I'm very grateful for. I can think of when I'm doing things at work or doing things with my kids, I often think to myself, oh, I do that because I remember being taught that or seeing that as an example with my mum, with you mum, or with you dad.
Dad, thanks for everything. A fantastic family life, a great environment. What an amazing opportunity to be part of such a big family with complete support and love and encouragement from Mum and Dad, and also just that has flowed through to our whole family. I love how we are there for each other, we care for each other and partners and children, and that really comes from everything that you do, Mum and Dad, in keeping the family together.
Dad, I love your knowledge of everything around you, and I love that I can just come to you and ask you about something and you'll know it, and that has always awed me as a child and an adult, and I think it's so impressive and amazing, and I think it's such a wonderful quality to have, and I love that we can see that in lots of our grandchildren. Mum, I love your wisdom, and I love how quietly wise you are, because it's something that I've only begun to realise as I've gotten older, how much you know about things and how wise you are and how much sense that you make, because of course it's something that I didn't like to think when I was younger.
Well, Mum and Dad, just think you're 2 of the best human beings in the world. The amazing family that you've created in your children, your grandchildren, all of our partners, everything is testament to just how amazing and loving you are, and the values that you've instilled in all of us. I just feel, I'm sure everyone loves their parents the most, but I definitely feel like I got the jackpot and I got the best in the world.
As far as our children, just for them to remember how much we love them and how much we are proud of them for what they have done with their lives, and how they've come to meet great partners, and had 23 grandchildren for us to also love very much.
I would marry Allan again in a heartbeat. I think we are having such a good life. I'd do it all again, no problems.
Great. Any dirt on anyone or
Any dirt?
on Allan?
On Allan? No, not really. standing there, I can't say dirt.
So I think that's a really strong memory of lots of laughter. Dad's bad jokes, basically.
And a few times we lost a few children. We went to my sister's house one day and left the baby in the bassinet in the spare room and started coming home. One day I was pregnant with Alicia, and Jonathan had Emily on a little surfboard surfing, and I was just standing there and I looked down and I said to Jonathan, "Where's Emily? She's not on the board." He said, "I don't know." And her hair floated past, so we grabbed her hair and lifted her out of the water. I think we're so lucky. I have such a happy life. I'm a really happy person. I've got so much to look forward to each day. I feel so loved, and I just think I'm the luckiest duck in the world.